The space station floated in the dark emptiness between stars. It was a large structure made of metal and glass, home to many different species from across the galaxy. Some came here to trade. Some came to learn, and some came to leave their young in the care of others. This place was called the Galactic Nursery Station. Yuna was a human woman of 28 years. She had soft brown eyes and black hair that she always tied back in a simple knot. Her hands were small but strong, and her voice was gentle like a quiet stream. She worked on level 7 of the station, in a section that most workers avoided. Level 7 was where they kept the Valkyrie cubs. The Valkyrie were a predator species. They came from a harsh planet where only the strong survived. Adult Valkyrie stood over 2 meters tall. They had 4 arms, sharp claws, and teeth that could bite through metal. Their fur was dark gray, and their eyes glowed golden in the dim light. When they walked, the floor shook. When they spoke, their voices rumbled like thunder. Most species in the galaxy feared them. The Valkyrie were known as warriors, hunters, and sometimes as monsters. They did not make friends easily. They did not trust others. They kept to themselves and protected their own. But even predators had children. The Valkyrie cubs were different from their parents in many ways. They were small, only reaching up to Yuna's waist. Their fur was softer, more like silk than armor. Their claws were still growing, not yet hard enough to cut. And their eyes, those bright golden eyes, were full of curiosity instead of danger. When Yuna first arrived at level 7 3 years ago, everyone warned her. The other workers said the cubs were wild. They said the cubs would bite her, scratch her, maybe even kill her. They said no human should work with predator young. Yuna listened to their warnings. Then she walked into the nursery anyway. On her first day, the cubs watched her from the corners of the room. There were 12 of them, all between the ages of 2 and 5 in human years. They growled at her. They showed their small teeth. They raised their 4 arms in warning. Yuna sat down on the floor. She did not move toward them. She did not speak. She simply sat there and waited. Hours passed. The cubs kept watching. Yuna kept sitting. Finally, one cub moved forward. It was the smallest one, a little female with fur that was more brown than gray. She crept toward Yuna slowly, her golden eyes never blinking. When she got close enough, she sniffed at Yuna's hand. Yuna did not pull away. She did not flinch. She just smiled. The cub tilted her head. Then, very slowly, she pressed her small body against Yuna's side. The other cubs watched in silence. They had never seen their sister trust someone so quickly. From that day forward, everything changed. Yuna named the small brown cub Bori. She learned that Valkyrie cubs responded to warmth and patience, not force and fear. She learned that they liked to be sung to at night, that they enjoyed soft blankets, and that they were afraid of the dark just like human children. She learned that they were not monsters. They were just young ones who needed care. Over the 3 years that followed, Yuna became the only caretaker on level 7. Other workers still refused to enter. They still believed the cubs were dangerous. They still looked at Yuna like she was crazy, but Yuna did not care what they thought. Every morning, she woke up early and prepared food for the cubs. Valkyrie young needed raw meat and special supplements to grow strong. Yuna learned to cut the meat in small pieces so the younger cubs could eat. She learned to mix the supplements with warm water so they would taste better. Every afternoon, she played with them. The cubs loved to run and chase and climb. Yuna could not run as fast as them, and she could not climb the walls like they did. But she tried her best. She let them catch her. She let them pile on top of her. She laughed when they licked her face with their rough tongues. Every evening, she told them stories. Yuna sat in the middle of the nursery, and all 12 cubs gathered around her. She told them about Earth, her home planet. She told them about oceans and mountains and forests. She told them about humans and how they were also strange creatures that other species sometimes feared. The cubs listened with wide eyes. They asked questions in their rough, growling voices. They wanted to know if humans had claws. They wanted to know if humans hunted like Valkyrie did. They wanted to know why Yuna was so small and soft. Yuna answered every question with patience. She told them that humans were small, Yes. Humans were soft, yes. But humans were also strong in their own way. Humans could survive almost anywhere. Humans could learn to love anyone, even predators. The cubs did not fully understand what she meant. But they understood that Yuna was different. She was not afraid of them. She did not treat them like monsters. She treated them like family. Bori, the small brown cub, was especially attached to Yuna. She followed Yuna everywhere. She slept next to Yuna's chair during rest time. She brought Yuna small gifts, like shiny rocks and interesting feathers that she found around the station. One day, Bori asked Yuna a question that made her heart ache. "Mother Yuna," Bori said in her small voice, "why did our real parents leave us here?" Yuna looked at the 12 cubs around her. She saw the same question in all their eyes. These young ones had been left at the nursery station because their parents were warriors. The Velkari were fighting a war on the other side of the galaxy. They could not take care of their young while they fought. So they brought them here, to be raised by strangers. "Your parents love you very much," Yuna said softly. "They left you here so you would be safe. They will come back for you when the war is over." We, the cubs were quiet for a long moment. Then Bori pressed closer to Yuna and said, "But you will stay with us until they return?" Yuna wrapped her arms around the small cub. She could feel Bori's heart beating fast, like a frightened bird. She could feel the others watching, waiting for her answer. "Yes," Yuna promised. "I will stay with you. Always." The cubs relaxed. They trusted her words. They trusted her completely, and Yuna meant every word she said. These cubs were not her blood. They were not her species. They were predators from a world of violence and survival. But to Yuna, they were her children. She would protect them with everything she had. The day started like any other day on level 7. Yuna woke up in her small room next to the nursery. She stretched her arms and listened to the quiet hum of the station. Outside her window, she could see the endless black of space, dotted with distant stars. It was beautiful, in a strange and lonely way. She got dressed in her work clothes, simple gray pants, and a white shirt. She tied her hair back and splashed water on her face. Then she walked into the nursery to greet the cubs. They were already awake and waiting for her. "Mother Yuna," they called out, their rough voices mixing together in a chorus of excitement. 12 small bodies rushed toward her, 4 arms each reaching out to touch her, to hold her, to make sure she was real. Yuna laughed and knelt down to hug as many of them as she could. "Good morning, my little ones," she said. "Did you sleep well?" "We dreamed of hunting," said Taro, one of the older cubs. He was larger than the others, with dark gray fur and bright golden eyes. He was 5 years old, and already showed signs of becoming a strong warrior like his father. "I dreamed of Mother Yuna," said Bori, pushing through the others to reach Yuna's side. "I dreamed we were on Earth, looking at the ocean." Yuna smiled and patted Bori's head. "That sounds like a wonderful dream. Maybe one day, I will take you all to see the ocean for real." The cubs cheered at this idea. They had heard many stories about Earth's oceans, the great bodies of water that covered most of the planet. They could not imagine so much water in one place. On their home world, water was rare and precious. Yuna stood up and clapped her hands. "All right, little hunters, it is time for breakfast. Everyone go to your places." The cubs ran to their eating area, a large open space with low tables and soft cushions. Yuna walked to the food preparation room to get their meals ready. She had prepared the meat the night before, cutting it into small pieces and adding the supplements. Now she just needed to serve it. She loaded the food onto a cart and pushed it into the eating area. The cubs sat in a circle, their tails wagging with excitement. They were always hungry in the morning. Growing predators needed a lot of food. Yuna served each cub their portion, making sure the younger ones got smaller pieces. She watched them eat, their small jaws working hard to chew the meat. They made happy sounds as they filled their stomachs. "Mother Yuna," said Somi, a quiet female cub with silver patches in her fur. "Will you play chase with us today?" "Of course," Yuna replied. "After breakfast, we will play in the exercise room." The cubs finished eating quickly. They wanted to play as soon as possible. Yuna cleaned up the dishes and led them down the hallway to the exercise room. This was a large space with climbing structures, tunnels, and soft floors for when someone fell. The cubs loved this room. They ran and jumped and climbed with endless energy. Yuna watched from the side, smiling at their joy. Sometimes she joined them, letting them chase her around the room. She was slower than them, but they pretended she was hard to catch. It made the game more fun. Today, 3 of the youngest cubs wanted Yuna to play with them near the far wall. Their names were Bori, Duri, and Nuri. They were the smallest and needed extra attention. "Mother Yuna, look how high I can climb," Duri said, scrambling up a metal beam that was part of the room's structure. "Be careful," Yuna warned. "Do not go too high." Duri climbed down obediently. He was a good cub, always listening to Yuna's words. Nuri and Bori were playing on the soft floor nearby, rolling around and pretending to fight. Yuna sat down against the wall to watch them. The other cubs were on the other side of the room, playing their own games. Everything was peaceful. Everything was normal. Then she heard the sound. It was a deep groan, like metal crying out in pain. Yuna looked up. The ceiling above her was shaking. Dust fell from the joints where beams connected to the walls. Something was very wrong. "Cubs!" she shouted. "Everyone move to the center of the room. Now!" The older cubs heard her and ran to the middle of the space. But Bori, Duri, and Nuri were too close to the wall. They were frozen with fear, their golden eyes wide and scared. Yuna did not think. She did not hesitate. She ran toward the 3 young cubs as fast as her legs could carry her. Above her, the ceiling continued to groan. A massive support beam, weakened by years of stress and neglect, began to break free from its mountings. It was falling. Directly toward the 3 small cubs, Yuna reached them in seconds. She grabbed all 3 with her arms and pushed them away from the wall. But she was not fast enough to escape herself. The beam fell. It struck Yuna's left leg with the full weight of solid metal. The sound was terrible, a wet crack followed by the crash of metal hitting the floor. Yuna screamed. Pain exploded through her body like fire spreading through dry grass. She fell to the ground, her leg trapped under the beam. She could not move it. She could not feel it anymore. There was only pain, red and hot and blinding. The 3 cubs tumbled to safety. They were not hurt. Not a single scratch marked their soft fur. They turned back to look at Yuna, and what they saw made them freeze. "Mother Yuna!" Bori screamed. The other cubs came running. They gathered around Yuna, their small bodies trembling with fear. They had never seen their caretaker hurt before. They had never seen so much blood. Yuna's leg was crushed. Bones stuck out through her skin. Blood pooled around her on the floor. Her face was pale, white, and her breath came in short, painful gasps. Stay calm," she managed to say. Her voice was weak, but she forced herself to speak. "I need you to stay calm." The cubs whimpered. Some of them started to cry. They did not know what to do. They were just children, and their mother was dying in front of them. "Taro," Yuna called to the oldest cub. "Go to the communication panel. Press the red button. Tell them there is an emergency on level 7. Taro nodded, his golden eyes full of tears. He ran to the wall and pressed the button with shaking hands. A voice answered, asking what was wrong. "Mother Yuna is hurt," Taro cried. "Please help her, please." The voice said that medical help was coming. It would take several minutes. The medical team was on the other side of the station. Several minutes. Yuna did not know if she had several minutes. She looked at the cubs around her. They were so small, so scared. They looked at her with complete trust, waiting for her to tell them everything would be okay. Yuna could not let them see her give up. She could not let them see her stop fighting. She had promised to stay with them. Always. And Yuna kept her promises. The pain was like nothing Yuna had ever felt before. It burned through her body in waves, each one worse than the last. Her leg was trapped under the heavy beam, crushed beyond repair. She could see the bones sticking out, white against the red of her blood. The sight made her stomach turn. But she forced herself to look away. She had to focus. She had to stay awake. The cubs needed her. Around her, the 12 young Valkyrie were crying and whimpering. Their golden eyes were wet with tears. Their small bodies shook with fear. They had never seen something so terrible. They had never felt so helpless. Mother Yuna, Bori sobbed, pressing her small hands against Yuna's arm. Please be okay. Please do not leave us. Yuna reached out and touched Bori's face. Her hand was stained with blood, but she tried to be gentle. I am here, she whispered. I am still here. Taro ran back from the communication panel. They said help is coming, he reported, his voice shaking. 5 minutes. Maybe 6. 5 minutes. 6 minutes. To Yuna, it felt like a lifetime. The blood was leaving her body fast. She could feel herself getting weaker with each passing second. Her vision was starting to blur at the edges. The world was becoming dark and cold, but she could not give up. Not now. Not when the cubs were watching. Yuna looked around the exercise room. The other cubs were scattered in small groups, too scared to come close. Some of them were crying quietly. Others just stared with wide, frightened eyes. They did not know what to do. They were waiting for someone to tell them. That someone had to be Yuna. Listen to me, she said, her voice stronger than she felt. All of you, come here. Gather around me. The cubs hesitated for a moment. Then they moved. One by one, they crept toward Yuna, forming a tight circle around her. 12 pairs of golden eyes looked down at her, filled with fear and love and desperate hope. Good, Yuna said. Very good. Now, I need you to breathe. Take deep breaths, like this, she showed them. Breathing in slowly and breathing out slowly. The cubs copied her, their small chests rising and falling in rhythm. It helped calm them down. It helped Yuna too. The medical team is coming. Yuna continued. They will help me. But until they get here, I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me? Yes, Mother Yuna, the cubs said together, their voices small but determined. Yuna smiled despite the pain. They were such good children. They were so strong. Even when they were scared, she looked at her trapped leg again. The beam was too heavy for her to move. She could not free herself. But she could not just lie here either. The cubs were frightened. And frightened Valkyrie young could be dangerous. Their instincts might kick in. They might panic and hurt themselves or each other. Yuna needed to show them that everything was under control. She needed to stand. It was a crazy idea. Her leg was crushed. She had lost too much blood. Moving would only make things worse. Any sensible person would stay still and wait for help, but Yuna was not just any person. She was a mother. She took a deep breath and gripped the edge of the fallen beam with her hands. The metal was cold and rough against her palms. She pulled herself, trying to slide out from under the weight. Pain shot through her leg like lightning, and she cried out. Mother Yuna, stop, Somi begged. You are hurting yourself. I have to try. Yuna gasped. She pulled again, harder this time. More pain, more blood. But she moved a little. Her leg was still trapped, but her body had shifted. She reached out to the wall next to her. If she could just grab onto something, she could pull herself up. She could stand on her good leg. She could show the cubs that she was still their mother, still their protector, still the person who would never leave them. Her fingers found a crack in the wall. She held on tight and pulled. Every muscle in her body screamed in protest. Every nerve was on fire. But Yuna did not stop. She pulled and pushed and fought against the weight that held her down. Slowly, painfully, she began to rise. The cubs watched in silence. They had stopped crying. They could not believe what they were seeing. Their mother, their soft, small human mother, was fighting against something that should have killed her. She was refusing to give up. Yuna got one knee under her, then her good foot. She leaned against the wall, shaking so hard she thought she might fall. But she did not fall. She kept rising. Her vision went black for a moment. She thought she might faint. But then she heard Bori's voice, calling her name, and the darkness retreated. She blinked and saw the cubs still watching her, their golden eyes wide with wonder. I am okay, Yuna lied. She was not okay. She might die right here in this room. But she could not say that. She could not let them see her despair. She was almost standing now. Her crushed leg dragged behind her, useless and broken. Blood ran down her shin and pooled on the floor. Every second was agony. Every breath was a battle. But she was standing. Almost. Her good leg shook beneath her. Her grip on the wall was slipping. She did not have enough strength. She was going to fall. No, she could not fall. The cubs would lose hope if she fell. They would think she was dying. They would panic. Yuna pushed harder. She dug her fingers into the wall until her nails cracked. She forced her trembling muscles to work. She rose another inch, then another, and then her strength gave out. Yuna felt herself falling. The world tilted sideways. She saw the floor rushing up to meet her. She closed her eyes and waited for the impact, but the impact never came. Instead, she felt something warm press against her side, then something else on her other side, and more behind her and in front of her. Small bodies, soft fur, gentle hands with careful claws. The cubs had caught her. Yuna opened her eyes. All 12 Velkhari young surrounded her. They pressed their bodies against hers, holding her up with their combined strength. Their forearms wrapped around her waist, her shoulders, her back. They braced themselves against the floor and the wall, creating a living support structure that kept Yuna from falling. We have you, Mother Yuna, Taro said firmly. We will not let you fall. Hold on, Bori added, her small body pressed tight against Yuna's hip. We are here. We are strong. Yuna stared at them in disbelief. These were predator cubs. Their instincts should have made them run from danger. Their nature should have made them save themselves first. But here they were, using all their strength to hold up a broken human woman. Tears filled Yuna's eyes. Not from pain this time. From something else entirely. My children, she whispered. My brave, wonderful children. The cubs held her tighter. They were not going to let go. And somehow, despite everything, Yuna remained standing. The cubs did not move. They did not let go. They held Yuna with all the strength in their small bodies, and they refused to give up. Yuna leaned against them, feeling their warmth through her blood-stained clothes. Her vision was fading in and out. The pain was still there, burning like fire in her broken leg. But she was not alone. Her children were with her. Breathe, Mother Yuna, Somi said softly. The quiet cub pressed her forehead against Yuna's arm. Just keep breathing. Yuna nodded weakly. Breathing was hard. Everything was hard. But she tried. The cubs had arranged themselves in a careful formation. Taro and 2 other older cubs stood behind Yuna, their arms wrapped around her waist to keep her from falling backward. Bori and Duri and Nuri were at her sides, pressing against her hips to keep her balanced. The remaining cubs knelt at her feet, supporting her one good leg with their hands. They worked together like a pack. No, not like a pack. Like a family. How long until help comes? One of the cubs asked. 3 more minutes, Taro answered. He had been counting in his head. Maybe 4. 3 minutes. 4 minutes. It felt like forever. But the cubs did not complain. They did not cry anymore. They had a job to do, and they were doing it. Yuna looked down at them with wonder in her eyes. These were Velkhari children. Their species was known for being fierce and independent. Adult Velkhari trusted only their own pack. They never showed weakness. They never asked for help. But these cubs were different. They had learned something that adult Velkhari never knew. They had learned it from Yuna. They had learned to love. You are all so brave, Yuna managed to say. Her voice was barely more than a whisper. I am so proud of you. We learned from you, Bori replied simply. Her golden eyes met Yuna's dark brown ones. You taught us to be brave. The words hit Yuna harder than the falling beam. She had spent 3 years caring for these cubs. She had fed them, and played with them, and told them stories. She had loved them with everything she had. And now, when she needed them most, they were returning that love. The minutes passed slowly. Yuna drifted in and out of consciousness. Sometimes she saw the cubs clearly. Sometimes they were just blurred shapes of warmth against her body. But they never let go. Every time she started to slip, they adjusted their grip and held her tighter. Finally, the door to the exercise room burst open. The medical team rushed in, followed by station security and several observers from different species. They stopped short when they saw the scene in front of them. A human woman stood in the middle of the room, her leg crushed and bloody, her face white as snow. Around her, 12 young Velkari cubs held her up, their small bodies creating a living support system that kept her from falling. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The lead medic, a tall being with blue skin and 4 eyes, recovered first. "Get the stretcher," she ordered her team. "And be careful. We need to move the cubs slowly." The medical team approached, but the cubs growled in warning. Their protective instincts had taken over. They did not want strangers touching their mother. "It is okay," Yuna said, her voice weak but calm. "They are here to help me. You can let them through." The cubs hesitated. They looked at Yuna, then at the medical team, then back at Yuna. Finally, Taro nodded and spoke to the others. "Make room," he said, "but stay close. We do not leave Mother Yuna's side." The cubs shifted, creating a small opening for the medics to work. But they did not move far. They stayed within arm's reach, watching every movement the strangers made. The blue-skinned medic knelt next to Yuna and examined her leg. Her 4 eyes widened at the damage. "This is severe," she said. "We need to get her to surgery immediately." "Will she survive?" Taro demanded. The medic looked at the young cub with surprise. She had never heard a Velkari young speak with such concern for another species. "We will do everything we can," she said carefully. "That is not good enough," Bori said, pushing forward. "You will save her. You have to save her." The medic stared at the small cub. She saw the fierce love in those golden eyes. She saw the blood on those small hands, the blood of the human woman they had been holding. She understood then that these cubs would accept nothing less than success. "I promise," the medic said. "We will save her." The medical team lifted Yuna onto the stretcher. The cubs followed, refusing to be separated from their mother. When security tried to hold them back, they snarled and showed their claws. "Let them come," Yuna whispered from the stretcher. "They need to stay with me." The medic nodded and waved the security away. "The cubs can accompany us to the medical wing, but they must stay out of the operating room." The group moved through the station corridors. Workers from other levels stopped and stared. They saw the injured human on the stretcher. They saw the 12 Velkari cubs marching beside her, their golden eyes fixed on her face. Word spread quickly through the station. Something remarkable had happened on level 7. Something that nobody could explain. When they reached the medical wing, the cubs finally had to let go. The medics took Yuna through the doors to the operating room. The cubs were left outside, standing in a tight group. "She will be okay," Somi said quietly. "She has to be okay." "She will be," Taro said firmly. "Mother Yuna is strong. Stronger than any human I have ever heard of." The cubs waited. Minutes turned to hours. They did not eat. They did not sleep. They stood outside the operating room door, their eyes never leaving the entrance. Station staff brought them blankets and food, but the cubs barely touched anything. They were focused on only one thing: waiting for news about their mother. Finally, after 4 long hours, the door opened. The blue-skinned medic walked out. Her clothes were stained with blood, but she was smiling. "The surgery was successful," she announced. "She will need time to heal. Her leg will never be the same, but she will live." The cubs erupted in cries of joy. They hugged each other, their small bodies shaking with relief. Some of them started crying again, but this time the tears were happy. Can we see her? Bori asked desperately. The medic hesitated. She is sleeping now. She needs rest. Please, Bori begged. We just want to be near her. We will be quiet. We promise. The medic looked at the 12 cubs. She saw their exhausted faces. She saw the blood still staining their fur. She saw the love in their golden eyes. She could not say no. Come, she said, opening the door wider. But you must be very gentle. She is still very weak. The cubs crept into the room where Yuna lay sleeping. They gathered around her bed, their eyes never leaving her face. She looked so pale, so fragile. But she was breathing. She was alive. One by one, the cubs settled onto the floor around her bed. They pressed close to each other for warmth and comfort. And there they stayed, watching over their mother through the long night. They would not leave her side. Not now. Not ever. News of what happened on Level 7 spread across the Galactic Nursery Station like fire through dry grass. At first, people did not believe it. Velkari cubs, the children of the galaxy's most feared predators, had risked themselves to save a human. They had worked together to hold her up when she tried to stand. They had refused to leave her side. It seemed impossible. It went against everything anyone knew about the Velkari species. But there were witnesses. Security recordings showed exactly what had happened in that exercise room. The footage showed Yuna diving to save the 3 youngest cubs. It showed the beam falling and crushing her leg, and it showed, in clear detail, every single cub rushing to hold her up when she tried to stand. The recordings were shared across the station. Then they were shared across the sector. Then they were shared across the galaxy. Within days, billions of beings watched those 12 small cubs save their human mother. Station Director Hana, a woman from Earth with gray hair and sharp eyes, called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 7 different species gathered in the main conference room. They had questions. They wanted answers. This behavior is unprecedented, said the Velkari representative, a scarred warrior named Kang. His golden eyes were troubled as he watched the recording for the 10th time. Our young do not bond with other species. They do not protect non-pack members. This should not have happened. But it did happen, said the blue-skinned medic who had saved Yuna's life. Her name was Dr. Hyra. I saw it with my own eyes. Those cubs were ready to fight anyone who threatened their caretaker. Caretaker? Kang repeated the word like it was strange to him. She is more than a caretaker to them. They call her mother. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the weight of that word. In Velkari culture, mother was sacred. A Velkari mother was the center of the pack. She was protected at all costs. The pack would die before letting harm come to their mother. These cubs had adopted a human as their mother, and they had acted exactly as Velkari tradition demanded. How did this happen? Director Hana asked. How did a human woman become mother to Velkari young? Dr. Hira pulled up Yuna's file on the display screen. Yuna has been the sole caretaker on Level 7 for 3 years. According to station records, she was the only worker willing to take the assignment. Everyone else was too afraid of the cubs. But she was not afraid, Kang said slowly. Understanding was dawning in his golden eyes. No. She was not afraid. She treated them with kindness and patience. She fed them, played with them, told them stories about her world. She loved them like they were her own children. Kang stared at the screen, where the recording was still playing. He watched the small cubs holding up the injured human with all their strength. He watched them refuse to let her fall. This is remarkable, he said finally. His voice was soft, almost reverent. In all our history, we Velkari have never formed bonds with other species. We believed it was impossible. We believed our instincts would never allow it. What changed? Director Hana asked. Kang was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. The human changed it. She showed these cubs something they had never experienced before. She showed them love without condition, care without fear. She gave everything to protect them, even at the cost of her own body. And in return, they gave everything to protect her, Dr. Hira finished. The representatives looked at each other. They were beginning to understand what had really happened on Level 7. It was not just an accident and a rescue. It was something much bigger. It was proof that the barriers between species could be broken. It was proof that love was stronger than instinct. 1 week after the accident, Yuna woke up. She opened her eyes and saw the ceiling of the medical room. For a moment, she did not remember where she was or what had happened. Then the memories came flooding back. The falling beam. The pain. The cubs. The cubs, she gasped, trying to sit up. Where are the cubs? Easy. Easy. Dr. Hira gently pushed her back down. They are right here. They have not left your side since you came out of surgery. Yuna turned her head and saw them. All 12 cubs were curled up on the floor beside her bed. Some were sleeping. Others were watching her with bright, hopeful eyes. Mother Yuna, Bori cried. She jumped up and ran to the bed, her small hands reaching for Yuna's face. You are awake. You are really awake. The other cubs woke up immediately. They gathered around the bed, all talking at once, all reaching out to touch Yuna and make sure she was real. Yuna laughed weakly and let them crowd around her. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she was smiling. I am here, she said. I told you I would not leave you. We held you up, Taro said proudly. When you tried to stand, we caught you. We did not let you fall. Yuna looked at the young cub with wonder in her eyes. I remember. You were all so brave. You saved me. No, Bori said firmly. You saved us first. You have been saving us every day for 3 years. The room fell quiet. The cubs pressed close to Yuna, their warm bodies surrounding her with love. They did not care that she was human. They did not care that she was different from them. She was their mother, and they were her children. That was all that mattered. In the days that followed, many visitors came to see Yuna, representatives from different species. Reporters wanting to tell her story, scientists wanting to study what had happened. But the most important visitor came on the 10th day. Kang, the Velkari warrior, walked into the medical room. He was huge, over 2 meters tall, with scars covering his body and claws that could cut through metal. The cubs immediately put themselves between him and Yuna, growling and warning. Peace, young ones, Kang said gently. I am not here to harm your mother. I am here to thank her. The cubs relaxed slightly, but they stayed close to Yuna. Kang approached the bed and knelt down, bringing his face to Yuna's level. Human, he said. You have done something that I did not believe was possible. You have taught our children to love. You have shown them that strength is not only in claws and teeth, it is also in the heart. Yuna looked at the fierce warrior. She saw the respect in his golden eyes. They taught me too, she said quietly. They taught me that family is not about blood. It is about the people you choose to protect. Kang nodded slowly. The war is ending soon. Their parents will come to take them home. But I will make sure everyone knows what happened here. I will make sure they know what you did for our young. Yuna smiled sadly. The thought of saying goodbye to the cubs broke her heart. But she knew this day would come. Eventually. She had always known. Whatever happens, she said, I will never forget them. They will always be my children. Kang stood up and looked at the 12 cubs surrounding Yuna's bed. He saw something in their eyes that he had never seen in Velkari young before. He saw not just love, but hope. Hope for a future where different species could understand each other. Hope for a galaxy where predators and prey could become family. Humans, Kang said, shaking his head in amazement. You do not tame predators. You do not control them. He looked at Yuna one last time before leaving. You earn them. And with those words, he walked out of the room, leaving behind a human woman and 12 predator cubs, who had proven that love knows no species. The end.